Hello there, welcome back to another week of shows. Today I'm going to start with another Johnnie To film. This one starring Simon Yang, who's done quite a few of his films, and it is PTU. Now, I'm not going to go into too much spoilers with this film, because it's not the newest film, it's not the oldest film. You know, it's from the 2000s. It's just had a new release from UK's Master Cinema. I think it's been seen by people who are interested in this area, but it's not been overseen, so I'm not going to spoil everything. But with Johnnie To films, a lot of it's not about how original the story is, it's about how the story is executed and the characters and the atmosphere. So it's not that important, but I'll only explain to a certain point in the story, so I won't do spoilers. Because you can talk to this film without spoilers quite easily. The basic setup is PTU is the police tactical unit led by Simon Yang in this film. He's the one who's leading the police around Hong Kong that night. So they're the night patrol, and they've got to go all night and make sure nothing's happening, make sure that people are obeying the law. They've got the route they keep following, and everybody is they're going in groups of 4. So there's 2 groups we're following who are dropped off a certain district. One group led by women, one group led by Simon Yang. And they just have to keep going around these different areas and making sure no one's gets in trouble. But of course, that would be a boring film. So what Johnnie To does is have a missing gun. Now, a missing gun is something that's been in quite a lot of films. It was in the Mad Detective, another Johnnie To film. It's obviously Kurosawa's used it. It's a really good device because a missing gun is impersonal, but it can be defined to the person who needs it for their job and for their career. It's something that is simple but effective in creating tension. And it's an important thing within this unit because the guy whose gun is missing, he's a sergeant. And he's getting close to promotion. And if he's obviously going to lose his gun here, then his career's in trouble. Now this guy is called Fatty, everyone calls him Fatty. And everyone has a very generic name. People are nicknamed in a very basic way because like one of the gangs are called Ponytail because he's a massive ponytail. Another guy's called Baldy because he's losing his hair, but he's not actually bald yet. It's just the very simple nicknames, which is really effective though, because it just gives a sense of the culture there. So this guy, Fatty, loses his gun in a very embarrassing thing with some guy, because he's been a bully and he's been nasty to some gangsters, they decide to set him up and beat him up for what he's been doing to them. So all hell breaks loose. They try to set him up. He thinks he's outsmarted them. Then he makes a mistake. He gets beaten up anyway. The people come to get him, and at that point he realizes he's lost his gun. He doesn't know he is, and he's pretty sure that these guys have taken the gun. These guys have beat him up. So he talks to Simon Yang, who's his pal, and he says, "Look, I need to find his gun." Now the other PTU officer who's in charge of the other group is going to call it in, and Simon Yang says, "No, we'll find the gun tonight. If we don't find it by tonight, we can call it in when we go back. I'll call it in when we go back and end shift. But give him tonight to try and find it, because there are leads, so you don't want this guy to lose his career prospect for one mistake." So she agrees, not very happy about it, but she agrees. And then we'll go through a whole series of adventures with Fatty on one side, with Simon Yam's character, and also another other investigator who's also in, because the ponytail character, who's the guy who set those guys after Fatty, ends up dead, like pretty much instantly from the film. As soon as Fatty goes off to find his gun, Fatty goes off to chase after to get into his adventures. That guy gets killed instantly. He's set up as a threat and he gets killed instantly. So this is the first 10 minutes of the film. It's not a surprise. But it's nicely done how you do it. So the 2 threads really going through the film are who killed Ponytail and why. Because we can see who killed him, we don't know who ordered it. And, well, Fatty finds a gun. And they're both linked, because it was Ponytail's men who were messing with Fatty. So it's like everything's kind of linked up. but it's kind of like, okay, how are people going to react to this situation? And that's what the film's about, how will they react? Now we see them react in a variety of ways throughout the film as the plot spins out of control, because Fatty has to deal with the fact he's looking for his gun. He buys another gun and makes up to look like the gun he had, but it still doesn't really look right. And he knows that if he hands that gun back in at the end of the shift, he's going to look bad. He also has to deal with the fact he's trying to track down these guys who are members of Ponytail Squad, while another group of cops are investigating Ponytail's murder. Also, there's gangsters. The Ponytail's father is looking for the killers, and he thinks it's this other gangster who Fatty's dealing with a lot. So Fatty has to deal with both sides of gangsters while he tries to find his gun, and has to try and make deals with people in really shady ways that are really interesting to watch as the film progresses, and you see him trying to deal with this thing as a bumbling figure, but he knows he's in a serious situation, so he has to be on guard the whole time when he's injured and he's not thinking straight. And he's got the police watching after him because they're pretty sure he's up to stuff. So no matter what he does, he seems to get himself worse and worse in it. Meanwhile, Sammy Yam's character is actually being pretty brutal to Ponytail's guys to find a gun. And you get this sense of how much power the police have here. I mean, they look like normal stock policemen walking through the town. They don't look that threatening. But then when they go into a place to interrogate someone, they can do a lot. And they can terrify. That's what's good with Sammy Yam in this film. And in a lot of films with To, is he gets to be really threatening and really dangerous. But in a very subtle way. He's not an actor who goes over the top. He's an actor who's very quiet. But it's the look in his eyes and the determination that really sells the chill with him. That you don't want to mess with this guy. But it also allows a complication. He's doing certain things that are wrong throughout the film, but he's doing them for a reason that you can understand. He's doing it for his pal, basically. He's trying to help his pal out. But it shows you how the police can go into easy corruption in this area, and it shows you how hard the police force is, because they're dealing with gangsters. They're not dealing with people who are just naughty. They're dealing with actual gangsters. Some of whom who are dangerous. Some of whom who think they're better than they are as well. But you can't quite tell who's who. You have an idea of who's who, but you can't quite tell. And his various escapades leads him to a block of flats, which is a really interesting interaction. I'm not going to say anything else beyond that. It leads him all through the town. He has to talk to his own people, and you see his people go too far in lots of ways. And it's fascinating to look at the police. But you also get this other thing of how the police are fighting each other. Like, each department hate each other. They're all on each other's tough and have to investigate similar crimes against similar criminals. Everyone wants to call on, no one wants to share. And it's so counterproductive. And it's just like, it makes it a lot easier for the criminals to escape because the cops are on their own little groups. So it goes into the idea of the cops versus cops situation, as well as different criminal gangs against each other, because one's out for revenge and the other one's out to protect themselves. And it's like, well, okay, who actually did the murder? Who was ordering the murder? And you find out more as the film goes on, but I'm not going to say what it is. But it creates an interesting atmosphere, and the film's all about its atmosphere. The film is very Johnnie To, though, because, I mean, it is a genre film, but it is art in its own way, because there's a craftsmanship involved to make the characters interesting, make the world interesting. And the camera work's always good, the camera work's always interesting. Like, he doesn't waste shots. He varies the scenes as well, so sometimes it's a longer scene with not much happening, then there's something quick happening. And it's always varied to show you, to give you a sense of the life of that area. So you get a sense of, like, it's like the world keeps changing every 2 minutes because you have a different character, and it's also the pace of the world. It's affected one character running into another character, and some characters are absurd, some characters are very serious. And each one has a place, and To's very good at mixing it up. So even though Sammy Yam's the main character, he's the head of an ensemble, really. It's not just all about him. I mean, it's all really about Fatty, who's a supporting character, but who takes center stage a lot of the time. But then again, you go back to Simon Yam a lot, and he's also got a lot of stuff to do. You go back to the policewoman who's doing her thing. You've got a lot of interactions. You have the gangsters doing their thing. And the good thing here is you only find out what they're doing when the police find out what they're doing. So they're doing stuff in the background that you don't have no clue about, and the police have no clue about. You'll never find out when it's relevant for you to find out. So they don't cut away and show you what they're doing, they just show you as the police find out. And it creates this great sense of atmosphere and unpredictability. Like there's a sense of this could get out of hand really quickly, because you're never seeing what they're doing while these other events are going on. It's always with the police, but you're seeing the flaws within the police, you're seeing how the police are doing their thing. I mean, there's only one character who's not a police person you cut away to, really, ever in the film, and this person's still near a policeman throughout those scenes, so it's not even, you always feel like he's linked to something. So it is a very simple structure, but you have a kind of really interesting plot going on. And we've told there is violence, but it's not like major violence. It's more about the kind of quiet violence as we build through the story. Really, it's more of a psychological manipulation of people and how people are getting tested and pushed to the limits through a bad situation. This really is a brilliant use of what could be a very pulp structure, and using the pulp structure to create a very interesting look at Hong Kong police in the 2000s and what they had to deal with. Because there's people down from China, there's people coming in from all over the place. They're their own people, you've got petty crooks, everybody's got a hand in something, and it is just kind of complicated to try to figure it all out. And some crops are corrupt, some crops aren't, and it's always difficult to find your footing. And so there's always these little wars between all these different characters. But that PTU is a great film. It's so wonderfully done. It's just a great example of taking something that could have been tacky and doing it right and doing it with respect for the audience. So I hope this inspires you to go and see it if you haven't seen it now. I hope if you have seen it, you'll enjoy what I've said about it. I'll be back soon with another video, but that's me for now. Bye.